Okay, welcome back, guys. This is the Goat Cast. A little bit under the weather, but wanted to record for Monday and keep up the tradition of Mondays being my drop days. So, going to keep it rolling today. We're going to go and talk about the Golden State Warriors, who are struggling a little bit against these Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of people are crowning the Lakers 2023 champions. I'd say pump the brakes a little bit, but they have looked the part in some of those games. But right now, we're in dog wars as far as the NBA playoffs. You've got multiple series tied. You have the Knicks and Miami, two dogs going at it. Then you got the Lakers and Warriors, two well-oiled machines. Golden State are your defending champions. Haven't looked the best this season, but they know how to win. Everyone's counting them out against the Sacramento Kings, but they were able to pull that out in six. Now, was it 6 or 7? I had to relook, but nonetheless, they pulled it out. 7-game series, I believe it was, and it's been somewhat of a back and forth with the Lakers. They had a really tough game, this game 3. If you haven't watched my video on the refs, please go see that. I will try to link this at the end. The referees have been a little bit suspect this season, and still the disparity between the Warriors and the Lakers as far as free throws is incredibly ridiculous. But the Lakers play a different style than the Warriors. The Warriors take a lot of long shots, jump shots, and the Lakers attack. So that's to be expected in certain ways, but but that's not here or there. We're going to talk about, is this the end of an era? And since Mark Jackson left, which was, I believe, 2014 or 2013, when the Warriors signed Steve Kerr as their new head coach, they just skyrocketed. They became what many believe a dynasty. They were, they started rolling over teams. They have now the best record ever in an NBA regular season. They trumped the Chicago Bulls 72-10 win season with a 73-9 win season, which is just, when you think about that, in the 82 games, only losing 9 games, that's otherworldly. So, within that time, they have accumulated 4 championships. And now we're at a place where they're up there in age. They were put together so well based on the draft, and not, they didn't go out and sign a bunch of free agents. Even though they have had free agents come through, those weren't their nucleus. They really, other than maybe you could say Andre Iguodala, with the free agent that they signed, that he had some credibility, but for the most part, they were put together by the draft as far as their big 3: Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Then they added in other players throughout, but those were their main focal players, and those were their all-stars, and those were the guys that seem to be the most stable guys. You would add in different, you had Harrison Barnes and different guys, Andre Bogut, David West came in for a little while, but the constant was those 3 players. Now they're up in age. Steph is 35. Clay is in his 30s. Draymond's in his 30s. And we've probably seen the best Warriors we're going to see with these 3 as your top 3 players, and these 3 as your constants. They thought they were going to be able to mold Wiseman into one of their key pieces, but that didn't work. they weren't super. They weren't. They didn't have much patience with Wiseman, and I don't understand because Wiseman's young. He could literally end up being a Giannis, but it's all about his work ethic, and maybe they've seen that, you know, bird's eye view. They've seen that he doesn't have that work ethic, and he's not going to, bulk up some and get better on both ends of the basketball. But they seem to have dropped the ball with that. They've done well with the acquisition of Andre Wiggins, who's been a key figure for them. But is that their future? Is that the guy that you will pay big money? I mean, he's there for a while now. They have paid him pretty well, all things considered. He's going to be there for the next until 2026, and then he has a player option, worth 30 mil in 2026, 2027 season. So he's probably locked in for a while. So they do see and value him. But is he your guy? Is he the guy that can kind of take the mantle and run with it, with Clay kind of, after all the injuries Clay's gone through, he's still a lethal shooter. He can still do a lot of things, but he's just not the lockdown defender. He's not the guy that he was during their dynastic run. Draymond, well, we're gonna come to Draymond in a little while, but is this the core that they feel they can go forward with and maintain their if you want to call it their, not dominance, but to maintain their stance in the West and being a potential champion every year? I think that now I think we'll have to see how far they go in these playoffs, but I think that this will be the end, unfortunately, of an era. The Golden State Warrior era that saw some phenomenal, some dominant basketball, you know, uh, but also some, they had some trials and tribulations. But I think last year was a great cap to what was a great story in that, they had the high of highs. They ran into a slew of injuries. They had KD leave. They they could never get Clay and Steph on the court at the same time. You had the issues with Draymond. Um, so it seemed like the perfect way for them to, it seemed like it could have been the spark of a new dynasty for the Warriors. But as we saw this season, that wasn't the case. They're great, they're good, but they're just not what they used to be. And you can attribute that to age. You can attribute that to teams um, learning from them and getting guys that could shoot the three and play defense. And nowadays we're getting a slew of great bigs, so that your small death lineup that you used to have isn't as effective when you have a big man that can move and get around like an AD, just like your smaller forwards like a Draymond back when he was pretty much the center for their death lineup. So um, you know if this is the end of an era, I think last year was the perfect way to end it. I think this season is kind of the measuring stick on where they go from here, and I think that we're seeing the little cracks in the they've been together a long time. It's like an old couple. After a while, it just it's just not there anymore. You try to put in little extra pieces. You put in your Jordan Pools, you put in your Kamingas. Kevin Looney steps up huge and becomes actually a piece of that. The core, but you're like, this just, it works okay, but it's just not going to get us. We're not going to get that same spark we had. When things were fresh. So coming up this year, they have a couple of free agents that I'm thinking are probably on their way out. Draymond has a player option that can be interesting. Dante DiVincencio also player option. Um, Andre Iguodala, we're pretty sure he's done after this year, and what a great career he's had. But yeah, it's time for him to kind of lay it down. And I hear he's going to help out with the coaching staff at some point. Great, that'll be a great fit for him. JaMychal Green, who's been he's been a part of their lineup now, probably more than he should be in these playoffs right now, with Looney having whatever issues he's having. He is an unrestricted free agent. I mean, I could see them signing him possibly, but he's up there in age. He's 32, 33, and yeah, it's about time for him to he'll find work somewhere else, but I don't see him being with his advanced age and everything. I don't see him being a big part of the Warriors' future. Anthony Lamb, I believe he's been injured. Uh, he's restricted free agent. I don't know. They may match, but we'll see. And then they have some two-way players, which you those guys you could see come. You never know. They might pick them up. They might not. They might test them out in the summer league, see what they're worth. So they don't really have a big bearing on what's going forward. So will Draymond use his player option? I'm not sure. I feel like Draymond wants to explore. I think he sees that while he's a perfect fit with the Golden State Warriors, they are getting long in the tooth. They're older. Maybe he wants to go to a more youthful team where he can be the savvy veteran that they can insert, and he can kind of be the general. I can actually see that. So I can see two scenarios. I can see him picking up his player option and then doing a sign and trade where they sign him and trade him off to somebody and get something back from him. And I could see Draymond doing the Golden State Warriors good by that, so that they get something. He just doesn't, decline, and they get nothing in return for him. So even you could think of Draymond however you want to, but I feel like he knows that Golden State has put up with a lot with him, and that they've done good by him, and he's done pretty good by them. So I feel like that's going to be the likely scenario. He's going to, he might test the market a little bit, but I think he's going to pick up his player option. They'll sign him, then trade him to whatever. Maybe I don't know about Detroit, but they'll probably trade him somewhere on the East where he could potentially fit in with a younger squad that he can maybe even Orlando type deal where he can run with those guys and kind of be the glue guy for them, like he's been the glue guy for the Warriors for all these years. He can help a rising team to really get to the next level. As far as Dante DiVincencio, uh, I don't think they'll. They might. He's probably not going to break the bank. So his style kind of fits with the Warriors. So I could see them picking him up, or him picking up his player option and then keeping him around. For the most part, everyone else is pretty much locked in. We got Steph for another couple years. Clay, this will be a contract year for him. So we might see him try to up his game to maybe get that one last big contract before he, kind of fades. Andre Wiggins is locked in for a while. Gary Payton, the second there. Kevon Looney, Kaminga, Jordan Poole's locked in for many, many years. Moody's there for a while. And then they have some of the role players that don't really play that are locked in, but they're probably two-way or on rookie contract. So they're going to come back with mostly the same team. I don't see them making any big trades. I don't think they. I think they're going to keep Clay. I think they're going to keep Steph. Clay's contract would probably be extremely hard to move, having having getting 43 million next year. So um, I just think that this current team, they're going to. I think, like I said, Draymond's going to pick up that option. They're going to sign and trade him. They'll get a few pieces, maybe some draft picks. Um, and they'll run it back next year with mostly their current squad minus a Draymond, and maybe they'll add a big, hopefully, for cheap that they can, kind of put into, alongside or back up Looney and see where they go. They might be a play-in team next year, but I think that the uh, the Golden State Warriors in the championship talk is over, and I think we witnessed some greatness. They've done wonderful things on the court, and they've really changed the game. Steph, Clay, that Golden State Warrior team that was just unstoppable changed the game because teams had to adapt to just shooters and shooters and just relentless defense and just constant movement. So a lot of teams, have tried to incorporate that or have tried to find ways to combat that. So you know, uh, kudos to the Warriors. Um, I'm not writing them off. They still have a chance to. If they get a championship, that would be the swan song of swan songs. But I think that the current Warriors, as we know them, will be done and will be over by the end of this season, starting going into next season. So, with that said, guys, we're going to close out here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back at some point. If you like anime, check out my Go Anime podcast channel. It's on my channel, so if you want to check that out, I will be doing a Demon Slayer episode 5 review today. So check that out. And you guys have a great rest of this week. Check you then.